Hello again, friends, and welcome to another fine edition of 151. My name is Adam, and I am joined by a man that has the biggest trencher this side of the Mississippi.
Thank you very much.
His name is Justin. We are 151. You can follow us on Podbean and iTunes. Subscribe to our page along with the YouTube channel as well. Plus, we are on Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr.
That's the first time I haven't had to remind you about that.
I do not pay attention to Tumblr.
Impressed.
It's a weird world. We have a very special guest in studio with us today, and I've gone back and forth with myself for probably a week on how to properly introduce him, and I think I'm just going to go with this. We're joined by a man who straight up fired my ass, showed me the door like Odin did to Thor. Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Patrick is with us.
Wow, after an intro like that, how do we possibly follow that up?
I don't know, but
Profanity.
Like I said, I've been going back and forth with myself. I'm like, nah, we're just doing it. We're just diving into it. No, thanks for joining us, Ryan.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
To come to Studio North.
I know. I had to leave the inner circle of the 50309. Took me a little while. There were donut shops. There were a lot of churches.
Ankeny. At least it's not Pella.
Right? We couldn't do this on a Sunday in Pella.
No, you can't work on Sundays in Pella.
Really?
Yeah, or something like that. A lot of the shops and stuff down there are not open on Sundays.
Well, that I knew, but you just didn't think that everybody just kind of shut down.
I don't think you can mow your street or mow your lawn.
Nope.
Or
noise and whatnot.
Yeah,
really?
You can't even have a sign in the air at that place. You have to have it on the ground in a brick thing for the look of the town.
All right. Well,
Pella, crazy people.
Wouldn't you know it? Couldn't record on a Sunday.
Yes, so we're 151. Like I said, you can follow and like and subscribe and do all that stuff on social media and Podbean and YouTube. And
I'd like to send out a special hello to our Korean fans.
And I do want to point out I shaved for this.
Your wife actually wrote me about that and said he shaved for you and not me.
Well, I knew there was the video components, and you know what? I'd like to take my time. I don't want to have to rush it on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
What? How big was the beard before that?
It's not the beard. It's the neck beard. The Kyle Orton is what she talks about all the time.
Okay. So you just cleaned up.
Yeah, pretty much.
You cleaned up your lines.
Yeah, it's not like it was that bushy.
The way she made it sound like you're Grizzly Adams living.
But again, Christy's got a very slanted view of lots of things, including.
There's no chance she's listening to this.
Not at all.
I just assume for aerodynamics he'd gone the full legs and like a competitive swimmer sort of shaved down.
It's actually the Speedo is down from the right now. Yeah.
Yep.
Big bush underneath that Speedo, though.
Huge.
Today on the show, we are actually going to get into the world of the MCU. For us, we're recording on the weekend that Spider-Man Homecoming came out, and we're right off of Guardians was a month and a half, 2 months ago.
This spring, yeah.
And then we had the trailer for Black Panther come out, Thor Ragnarok, and Inhumans, which we'll probably get to in a minute.
And more of the announcements about Captain Marvel.
Yep, Captain Marvel.
Yep.
There's a whole bunch of stuff about Infinity War out.
The set photos.
Yeah, just constant stream of information coming out on that.
And we realized in talking about, what do you want to talk about? That we haven't talked about Marvel, just Marvel. It's always been hey, DC sucks and this is what Marvel is doing better. But we haven't actually talked about what Marvel is actually doing better. And, do we like where it's going? Do we like the things that have been coming out? And so on and so forth. So, yeah, that's what we're going to do today. So if you want to turn this off, please feel free to right now. This is your exit.
You've been forewarned. You can't say that we didn't tell you. Just going ahead and,
So, where do you guys want to start? I guess the best spot is either Guardian, because we did the Facebook thing about Guardians right afterwards, and Spider-Man Homecoming. So I guess we can start there and kind of work our way around and see where to go. I know Spider-Man Homecoming. I've seen it. He's seen it. Ryan's seen it, and you have not.
I am the big loser this weekend and have not seen it yet.
So we'll keep spoilers to a minimum, but still.
No, we absolutely do spoilers on this show. Absolutely.
Sorry, Justin.
Yeah, he takes a gleeful, childish, just whole joy in there's your first plea in spoiling things for me sometimes.
Well, what was the one that you? Oh, it was Guardians, because I wrote him and I read the plot to Guardians too.
Yeah, but you've always done that.
Yeah.
I mean, for as long
Yes.
as I've known you, you enjoy ruining the movies for yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's completely because I was the kid that for Christmas, when I was young, it was if you peek, all the presents go back. Now your rules have no power over me.
I threatened him with bodily harm, with our friendship, with everything if he ruined Guardians for me after reading the spoilers online.
But really, you kind of knew what it was going in. You knew who the villain was.
Yeah.
Like, the only real spoiler there was that Yondu dies at the end. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's really the only spoiler.
And that he likes being Mary Poppins.
Y'all.
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
Well, if you want to start with Guardians too, yeah, it was a lot different. I think that was the part that surprised me the most, is how different it was than the first one.
I thought it was different in the fact that you went from an ensemble piece where you're learning about these 5 different characters and you're building them all as a team to essentially, I'm going to liken this to The Empire Strikes Back, is because you have these teams now all go not their separate ways, but you've got like 3 mini stories there. You've got the Groot, Rocket, Yondu pod. Mm-hmm. You've got the Drax, Gamora, and then you've got Snake Plissken and Peter Quill, bonding. So I mean, you kind of had everybody go their own separate ways, and then they come back around in the end, kind of like. And
that was the same analogy that I made and was going to make was Empire. It was very much we've assembled our team. Yeah. Exactly. We've assembled our team. Now they're going to go and then come back together.
Can we talk about how awesome it would be just to CGI young Kurt Russell into any movie?
Are you sure it was CGI though? Are you sure they didn't just dye his hair a little bit?
I read an article about this, and he asked how much of that is CGI, and they said not as much as you'd think. That when they got him in and got the hair in and a couple of things, that was pretty close. They didn't have to do a lot of work.
And he's on the cusp of 70 if he isn't 70.
Yeah.
Like, that's all the more reason that the Gerard Butler Escape from New York should just be scrapped, and you just bring back Kurt Russell.
Are they really doing Escape from New York, Gerard?
That was one of the discussions that has been out there for a couple of years now.
Wow, I was just thinking about that the other day. That was a movie that I'm like, when are they going to remake that?
Yeah, no, that's been the talk for a while. I mean, you could bring back Jack Burton. Mm-hmm. I mean, Kurt Russell doesn't age. National treasure. Underrated national treasure.
Yep.
Even with Tango and Cash.
You didn't like Tango and Cash? We have a theory. Me and a buddy from he lives up in Duluth now, but it's basically if you put Kurt Russell in a movie, it's probably going to be okay.
He is. He's kind of like the franchise. I don't want to say the franchise fixer, but he's kind of close. You drop him in some of those things, like that Fast and the Furious movie became better because it had Kurt Russell tied to it.
And honestly, the reason that because it was 7. It was the last one where he came in. That was his first introduction, and that's why I watched it. Yeah. Is because they got Kurt Russell into it. And I'm like, oh, this isn't that bad.
I probably like it, but I still haven't. I have no idea what's going on in the Fast and Furious movies.
Apparently, from what I understand, and I have a friend who did not watch any of them, and then his friends told them, you need to watch them, and they get essentially they've been dubbed the Car Avengers movies.
Huh.
Like 6, 7, 8 have all gotten much better than. Like, apparently they just go off on tangents. People die. They come back. Like, there's some movies that have none of the original cast in them, but they're, like, just there. It's like the Halloween 3 of, like, Fast and the Furious movies.
Awesome.
And I've yet to see. I think I saw the first one.
Well, let me ask you guys this. Marvel has had a problem with having good villains in their movie. Kurt Russell, good villain or not?
Good. Good.
You liked him?
Good. Simple motivation. Had a few classic, villain blunders, but overall, it kind of worked because he was a simpler villain. Mm-hmm. He didn't have an overarching, extra super complicated plan. It was just I need Peter Quill to, go out in the universe. So
Yeah.
it was not terribly overcomplicated. It was not weak. There is no scenario under which I think anybody is actually going to say, and that's why I killed your mom. Right at the crucial moment. But
I thought it was awesome when he blew his head off.
yes,
When he brought up about the mom and instant reaction. But no, I liked it. I think it was good. I liked Ego as a villain.
I liked it a lot more when how they portrayed him as, when you go back and they paged homage to it a little bit in the film of the look of it, and he had a great look, and the level of menace, and you don't really see that in a lot of Marvel movies, but there's the one scene where she falls into the remains of the dead kids, which was, and I thought that was, like, I don't want to say heavy because it's a Marvel movie, it's not overly heavy, but that was a little bit more of a game changer where they made him a little bit more menacing than,
And there wasn't the, big beam in the sky or something, wasn't attacking a city or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is kind of standard default mode for Marvel. But last thing about
it was a far more personal villain.
Yeah.
I think the other thing too is you also forget that he's the main villain, but then you've also got the
Ravengers.
But you also got the Sovereign as that I think that's easy to forget because they're there, but they're not there for
they're only driving action. They're not actually integral.
Yeah. Last two things about Guardians. One, Kurt Russell just reciting the lyrics of Brandy. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Loved it. And that the fact that Marvel took the fan theory about Stan Lee and actually turned it into a part of the movie.
Yep.
As him as one of the Watchers.
Yeah. Well, I think that also shows you one of the things that Marvel does right, kind of bringing this all around, is that they're out there, that they're especially Gunn, that they look to see what the fans are saying and like and kind of, I don't want to say play to it, but where they can kind of incorporate it, they do.
So we're getting, I want to move on to Spider-Man here, but do you think it was one of those things where Marvel listened to the fans, or was that Marvel's plan all along and somebody just guessed it?
Happy coincidence. They listened to the fans. They said, "Oh yeah, this will work. This
Agreed.
will be great."
Okay.
Yep.
Same thing with, and this will segue nicely into Spider-Man. Same thing with was the kid in Iron Man 2 Peter Parker?
Which is it Holland?
Tom Holland.
Yeah.
Tom Holland said, "Oh, I'm going to get in trouble for this," but I was just with Kevin. How do you say his last name?
Fergie?
Sure.
Fergie?
Feige?
That's what you got to practice, apparently.
Apparently so.
The head of Marvel Films.
He was with him, and he said, well, he got asked, and he didn't deny it, so I'm going to confirm it, which I love that kid because he just goes off the cuff.
I like that Tom Holland hasn't been allowed to read the entire Avengers script.
Because they know he's a security risk.
Yeah, he can't keep a secret about it.
I love it. But I think that's the same sort of thing. They saw an opportunity and kind of took it and just said, hey, this works. I can't see a problem with this, so why not?
Yeah.
Let's do the fan service.
Well, I think there's that, and one of the great things leading into Spider-Man is how they really worked, and they didn't have to do it overly hard, but they worked in the Battle of New York really as the genesis of the Vulture. And I thought they did a great job because that tied it all in, and there's Easter eggs all over the movie that will like name drop Winter Soldier, Battle of New York, Civil War. You know?
There was a lot of that stuff that they didn't try and hide as much because it feels like they're trying to. Yeah, Spider-Man is a part of this. He is grown up in this area and so on and so forth. So.
Yeah, I mean, if you
please respond about Spider-Man that you didn't see.
If you run that kid back to so they're kind of following the timeline of 2008 with Iron Man. The kid's like what, 12? So I mean, most of his life.
It was 8 years is the difference.
But yeah,
they actually show it in the.
Okay, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, the kid has grown up in this where his formative years. All he's ever grown up is with real life superheroes. I mean,
yeah. No, I thought overall I really liked the movie. I thought they did a great job showing Peter struggling as Peter Parker, which the other movies tried to do that. I don't think they did it as well.
This is the first time that really puts him in high school, and
Yeah.
he looks like a high school kid. I mean, he's
Yeah.
like 21, 22, but he looks like he's about 15.
It's not like Andrew Garfield, who's emo Peter Parker. That's kind of cool, and people kind of like him.
Between that and then, Tobey Maguire, who was like 45 years old by the
Yeah.
time, Spider-Man 3 came out. So,
Well, and I mean, it's easy to be sympathetic with a kid and this kind of story. Put him in high school and the rest of it, we've all done that. It is very hard to be sympathetic with an eccentric billionaire playboy philanthropist struggling with his, public identity now as Iron Man and, this massive hero.
Yeah.
It's hard to get behind that kind of internal strife, but everybody's been in high school and had an outcast moment.
You know what? I think the best way to say it is Peter Parker in this movie is a kid, and Spider-Man acts like a kid.
yeah, I mean, a good part of this movie is him trying to figure out how it works, and if anything, in going back to Civil War, is he'd been Spider-Man for all of, he said he's had his powers for 6 months, and he's pretty adept at, battling the rest of the Avengers at that point in time, where this is almost regresses a little bit as he's trying to learn, he's trying to see the limits of, how far can I jump, and,
If I were you, I'd just go out and shoot my web as far as it could go and see how far it goes.
Yeah, things like where he doesn't measure it right, and he's swinging and dragging across the tops of the building,
Or when he's trying to get out of the suburbs and he's running across a golf course
because there's no buildings.
Exactly.
I mean, that's something the '60s Spider-Man cartoon never had to deal with. He was always in the city.
But something that has been pointed out comedically, many times in the intervening years. So
Yeah, I love the instant kill mode, the suit setting. It's the AI.
Yeah.
He's got all these default settings and stuff, and him trying to figure that out is just the best.
I also thought the suit, and I know that people have either they love it or they hate it, but I thought it did a really good job of getting around, okay, does the kid have spider sense or not?
Yeah.
And I know they've said, spider sense exists in this world, but the suit kind of gave as much of a realistic, vibe you could on it that, I thought it was cool. It was a different angle. And I think that was one of the things that I really liked about the movie is that it stayed true to the comic books in a lot of places, but in other places it gave it a fresh take. It kind of merged at times the worlds of Spider-Man and the Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yeah.
If I had any issue with the movie, there's two things that I had an issue with. One, at times the goofiness kind of wore on me. Like I thought at times it overstayed its welcome.
Did you think it was long?
The movie, I didn't think it was long. I thought it moved pretty well.
I felt like I'd been sitting there forever because we went to Flicks, and it was the first time they did it, or we'd gone to Flicks. We'd gone to a similar one down in Kansas City when we saw Deadpool for the Alamo Theater. And I remember the lady saying, hey, we'll bring the check out 45 minutes before the end of the movie. And she finally came out, and I thought, God, there's still 45 minutes left of this thing. And it wasn't like a bad long, but it was like, okay, there's a few things we could cut here.
Yeah, no, I thought it was. I thought they did a good job. I thought that, like I said, they merged enough. I thought they did a great job with the Vulture.
Yeah,
I thought he was a great villain that wasn't too big for where Peter Parker was in his.
He had a great motive, I think.
Yeah, to be honest, I thought he was one of the stronger Marvel villains. Because he didn't want to take over the world. He didn't want,
he wanted money.
He wanted money. And, if you go back to, most of the villains that most of the heroes take on, they all aren't, I'm going to take over the world. It's not the Lex Luthor phenomenon,
But, I mean, Michael, that part of that, I think, is Michael Keaton. He brings reality. Don't get me wrong, he has to have a well-written character, but I'd watch that dude read the phone book because, he's going to do a good job with it.
Yeah, but with that being said, there have been lots of great actors who play Marvel villains that they just haven't been flushed out. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. The dude was a Marvel villain, and they made him as bland as you possibly could be.
Pretty one-dimensional. Yeah.
Although he
made
has
some
one of the
serious
greatest
missteps.
lines in the entire, and don't you yell into the mic when you do it. Tony Stark built this from a box of scraps in a cave.
You said I couldn't yell into the mic.
Yeah.
In a cave!
But no, I liked it. I thought it fit in well. Like I said, maybe a little long, but I still think my wife had the best description of it. She goes, "This is PG Deadpool."
Which is sort of high praise, at least in my opinion.
But I also think that Deadpool was based off the wisecrackingness of Peter Parker, so it makes sense. And I think that the other thing is that Deadpool is going to be that standard, like, no matter how good Deadpool 2 is, it's never going to live up to what Deadpool 1 was because it was so different. Now it's, you're
it's
going to
be
used
more
to
of the
him.
same.
Yeah.
All right, so we've covered Guardians 2, we've covered Spider-Man Homecoming. Now we've got about 10, 15 minutes left. The MCU, it's going. I mean, everything is leading towards Infinity War, and
Yes.
I think we've seen the trailer for Black Panther, we've seen the trailer for Thor Ragnarok. Is there anything else in between there?
No, those are the next two. Ragnarok is November.
Yeah.
And I think Panther is March.
Spring.
Yeah, and
And then the first Infinity Wars
is May.
They're that close.
I want
November,
to say it
March.
was May when I looked it up last, because it was like the end of May one way. It's either end of May or early June.
Allow me to
okay.
research this real quick.
But here's my worry about the MCU. Yeah, we're getting some great movies, and we're trying to lead to Infinity War. And I know it's going to be 2 movies that are probably 2.5 hours long. Are we going to have enough setup in between with these next 2 movies that come out? Because Spider-Man didn't have anything to do with Infinity War. It just was a tale about Spider-Man. You had Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which I think the last movie that actually had something to do with Infinity Stones or Infinity Wars was Doctor Strange. Are we going to...
the last time you saw one.
Yeah. But my question is, okay, we've got 2 movies until Infinity War comes out. Are we going to go into Infinity War and... I mean, is it going to set up nice, or are we going to get so much story and stuff crammed into 2 movies?
I think all you're doing is laying foundation right now for Infinity War. I think it's going to be... I think the setup for Infinity War is going to be in Infinity War.
Well, at this point, he has none of the stones. He has none of the... That's a good way to say it.
He's got no
no
stones.
stones.
He's got no stones. He does he have the glove yet, Thanos?
That's
Yes.
why he's doing it himself.
Kaboom. Let's see. So part of that movie is going to be that. It's going to be him getting the stones, right?
Yep.
I mean, I guess is it going to bridge well enough, or is it going to be like, we've got so much crap in here that we don't know what to do with it?
Here's what I'm going to tell you. And I'm going to say this now on record. Infinity War 1 and 2 will not live up to the hype. And when I say that to all the hype that we have, because it's been building for so long. The same way that,
It'll be over 10 years.
The Age of Ultron, didn't necessarily live up to the hype of the first Avengers. It's going to be it's going to wrap everything up, and then from there be the launching point of what they're saying is Phase 4. But I think that the expectations of this movie for the cast and that, I think it's going to be a unique experience for the fans to see all these characters together.
Yeah.
If they can listen, and I hope that I'm wrong, that this lives up to every expectation we've had on this, but I think that the amount of press and hype, and like you said, we've been talking about this movie for over 10 years at this point in time. Even when it wasn't a movie, we've been talking about it. And I think there's a lot of pressure there for them to kind of make it work. And now, with that being said, if based on what I've seen the Russo brothers do with the 2 Marvel movies they have done, I've been really impressed. But again, if this movie doesn't make $2 billion, people are going to say that it's a failure.
No.
Yeah, because ever since Phase 2, I mean, as soon as Phase 1 worked, they said, okay, Phase 2, we're building, we're going, and when they announced Phase 3, then they announced Infinity War. So I mean, this is where it was going. The other thing to comment on what you just said about the Russo brothers, and this is a conversation him and I have had before, I feel like they do a good movie that just happens to be set in the Marvel universe. Like, Winter Soldier. That was a great spy flick that just happened to be set in, the MCU.
Well, I think that's the thing that Marvel's done well to kind of bring this all back is, listen, say what you want about Ant-Man. Ant-Man really was a great heist movie.
It was.
And, people can blow it off, but it was a fun movie. It had a different angle. Winter Soldier is 100%. That's like 3 Days of the Condor. That's like an old school spy movie, and it's done really well, except you've got superheroes and a talking computer in it. You've got... Civil War is essentially
It's Avengers 2.5.
But even with that, you've got a falling out between friends. Like, their movies have different levels of heart there, and one of the things that I've read about Ragnarok is it's a buddy movie.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that, even though that you hear the MCU and Spider-Man is totally a breakfast, it's a John Hughes movie with superheroes. I think one of the things that they've done is they've taken different genres of movies using familiar characters that happen to be superheroes. And for as much as people complain and bitch that all these movies have the same look and the villain is weak, but they have morphed enough of these to a degree that make them different.
I can honestly hope that I would love for Thor Ragnarok basically be an updated Road 2, one of the old Bob Hope Road movies with
not
superheroes.
To be confused with The Road, because that was a total dime.
Exactly.
See, I'm hoping for Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Which that's basically a road movie as well.
Yeah.
So, okay, timeline.
Okay.
November Ragnarok.
Yeah.
February. Black Panther, which that's why I was a little off, and
so it'd be the same timing as
to release
Deadpool.
a big tentpole in February says a lot about how the movie industry changed and how pretty much Marvel says if we put it out, it's going to make money.
Well, the other thing too is with that, and I think that Deadpool showed that, is that if there's not a lot out in February, so if you've got a good movie at that point in time, you can make a ton of money, and if it's got good word of mouth,
people will see it.
Yep. And they'll go because there's nothing else. Like, the bad thing about summer is you've got, boom, 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 boom. Like, every weekend
you almost get some
something
fatigue
else.
there.
Yeah. May is Infinity War.
Mm-hmm.
July is Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Didn't even know that was coming out.
Yeah, they had a casting announcement about that
yesterday.
Yeah. The one guy, the one S.H.I.E.L.D. agent we're going to see again.
Yep. Which one?
I would grab my phone, but then it'd just be you. So.
That's fine.
Venom, after that, if we can consider that.
Well, it's not. I mean, it's not MCU related, but I mean, it's Marvel. But
and then we're jumping clear to March 2019 for Captain Marvel, and then
wow, they're putting out that Venom movie next year.
Yeah, and then May 3rd, 2019 for Avengers 4, and then July the Spider-Man sequel to launch.
Which is going to be Sinister 6, right?
No, because there's rumors that Sony wanted to do their own Sinister 6 movie.
Okay. How do you do Sinister 6 without Spider-Man? How do you do a Venom movie without Spider-Man? I mean, sure. I mean, if you make it look good and dark and have Carnage there, because I guess that's going to be the villain. But I mean, how do you do a Venom movie without Spider-Man?
The only...
And how do you have an Eddie Brock that's 5 feet tall? At least he's muscular now.
Well, the other one I'll give you, and not to spoil, Homecoming, but the Flash Thompson who's in that movie is not the Flash Thompson we've grown up with, and it's great, and it works so much better.
You just hate that kid. Penis Parker.
Nice. Nice.
And of course, now I can't find it. But they one of the Agents of Shield's actors is going to be in.
Is it the
Ant-Man.
Coulson?
No.
It's the Asian guy, right?
Yeah.
Jimmy.
Well,
either way, go look it up.
This has gone nowhere.
This whole thing derailed. I guess. I mean, if we're gonna throw this in and really wrap this up, Inhumans trailer.
Well, real quick, before we
Okay.
go into that, I think the most exciting thing about what you're going to see about the MCU is you're going to have the Infinity War, and that's going to close up a lot of the arcs.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
going to, and the other thing that's going to happen with that is from that you're also getting you now have a new hero in Spider-Man. You have a new hero in Black Panther. You have Brie Larson as Captain Marvel. And I think you're still going to have, the Jeremy Renners and the Nick Furies.
But I think you're going to see Chris Evans exit.
I think you'll see him de-emphasized. And I think you'll see Helmsworth. And the funny thing is with this universe, when they built it, your stars were Downey by default, and you didn't. Nobody would have thought that he would have had the career renaissance with that. Johansson was a star, and Nick Fury. I mean, Chris Evans was an actor that was established. People knew who he was, but he was not
wasn't
a
a
superstar.
star.
No.
And the other thing I'll say about Chris Evans is he does other movies. He does the big blockbuster, and then he does one of his films, whether it be a Snowpiercer or The Gifted or the movies that he likes to do. But Helmsworth is the one who's really become the star. And no matter what he's been in, he usually steals that movie. I mean, Ghostbusters, the vacation movie.
Yeah, like I said, and we can wrap up with this, but it was...
I watched 2 shitty Snow White basic movies based on The Huntsman because that's another guy. I'll damn near watch him read the phone book.
You really put him up at Kurt Russell level?
But I think
or Tom Hanks?
Damn near.
I think he's another example of who's going to want to do other things. And I don't think that they'll ever lose. I would be shocked if they kill off Chris Evans, Captain Marvel. I'll be shocked if they kill off Thor. It's Disney. They don't really do that. They'll severely cripple and maim, a la War Machine. But very rarely will I think that they'll kill anybody. I think that it always leaves the door open and the rotating cast of characters.
Yeah, I always had that worry about, because if you look at what is going to happen in Infinity War, he's got to get the stones. They've got to get back together, Captain America and Iron Man. And there's all these different steps, and it's like they're not working their way towards it like they had earlier on. So that was just my concern about that movie itself. But I think it's going to make money.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's going to be cool. We're all going to go watch it.
Well, here's the other thing, too, is they have to introduce the, the Black Order? Is that what it is? So you're going to have that introduction, and I think that's how he's going to get all the stones. They'll go grab them all individually, and then it starts at stones.
I can't help it. Real quick, Inhumans, go.
I like the dog. The dog was the only good part of that trailer as far as I'm concerned.
I think it's been...
That's Marvel's biggest mistake, right? Thinking Inhumans can be something.
I think the biggest mistake that they made is they took away one of their core pieces in X-Men and tried to focus on making the Inhumans something that they could brand outside of comic books. And I think that's I don't want to say that it's being forced, but it's being forced.
That's really that's the part that I've been missing. That's really insightful. You're right. It's because they don't have the X-Men.
Yeah.
Because I've been sitting here for a year going, why the hell are they pushing Inhumans? Nobody gives a crap about the Inhumans because they don't have the X-Men.
They don't have the X-Men, and the same thing is why I think that the Fantastic Four has been allowed to. You don't see that stuff, and it's criminal when you see the type of their character that the Thing is, and the Human Torch, and that's the thing. Those characters are non-existent. Although I will say that they've done an amazing job rebranding Reed Richards as a villain. But again, you'll never see any of that.
No.
No. You don't see they try to move the Thing around as a comic book version of Guardians of the Galaxy, and like I said, but that is one of my biggest issues with Marvel right now is the film and TV division are driving the print division. And if they don't have those rights to those characters elsewhere, they kill them.
Yeah. TV version.
I mean, there is a certain logic to that, to keep all the eggs in one basket, so to speak, to make it accessible. So this looks like this, but by the same token, yeah, I mean, you can't suddenly, because the MCU is its own thing. It's a combination of origin stories. It's a combination of ultimate stuff. It's a combination of, what works well because this translates to the screen, and we've already established this, so it's a logical leap for Tony to build Peter Parker's suit. He's already got these facilities where this kid some of that stretches incredulously.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Just to me, it's like you've wiped out these historic legacy characters, and the X-Men is probably the best one. Whereas that last miniseries they did, and I know that they're just trying to bring them back in different series now, but essentially didn't in the comic books the Terrigen Mist that created the Inhumans literally kills mutants. So in theory, the Inhumans have killed off
all the mutants.
The X-Men. Yeah.
Boom.
See.
Speaking of X-Men, one word answer. Logan, good, depressing, both.
Both.
You know what that is? And I've said this to a couple of people. If you take out the superhero aspect of it, it is a man with cancer taking care of his father dying of Alzheimer's.
Wow.
And that's not a feel-good movie, but
no, it's not a feel-good movie.
And there's a little girl there to watch them both die, and then you put it in black and white, and you have just the ultimate heartbreak of the year.
As the father of a small girl,
who's apparently that way.
Yes. Sorry. She's
locked in the other room.
As a father of a young daughter, who's sort of midlife crisising here,
doing a podcast in a basement.
But just because I'm
talking about comic books,
I'm on the top side, headed to 40. That movie was with those scenes towards the end was just heart-wrenching for me. Just absolutely destroyed me.
When he's pulling out his own claw, all I could think of was a Viagra commercial.
I will tell you this though, the other thing is I would take those last two movies that were done by Mangold over any of the other X-Men movies. Like the Wolverine had the ability to be hands down. That was a Clint Eastwood Western, much like I thought Logan was, and they've said this. It's like The Unforgiven.
Yep.
And I thought that was one of the ways that character always worked best, and the director got it, and it wasn't X-Men's origins. It wasn't that, and they made him real by one age, and then the second one by the venom that eliminated his healing factor, and I think that's what made that character better, because it also allowed Jackman to act.
Basically, what it comes down to, it sounds like, and it works with both the Wolverine movies you just said and Spider-Man. You take out the origin story of these, and it's an already much better movie.
Correct.
Yeah,
we've seen it.
I think you do that, but the other thing is you make these guys relatable. Again, Spider-Man, high school, relatable. Wolverine, when you take away some of the aspects of it and the fact that he's dying, again, relatable. Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest issues with trying to put together a Superman movie. But he's not relatable. That's a whole nother...
I know that
DC.
I know that it definitely made me think about the times that I had to fight a younger, stronger version of myself.
And on that note, we are 151. You can follow us on Podbean and YouTube and iTunes. Please subscribe to our channels and rate us. Also, you can follow, like, and share us on Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr, all at 151 The Show. We can't end without a shameless plug.
Cue the music!
This is the part of the show where we shamelessly plug something. It doesn't matter what it is. We've done t-shirt stuff, we've done movies, we've done lightsabers, we've done tools, and everything in between, but it's something that we like and want to put out there. And this is actually one that we've kind of done this shameless plug before, but I want to redo part of it. Loot Crate.
Good choice.
Okay. You know what Loot Crate is,
I
right?
do.
Okay.
And I struggle with if I want to get a subscription or not every single month, because I have so much crap in my house already that my wife rolls her eyes at. I don't know if having it show up at my door, where she usually gets to it first as opposed to me sneaking it in, would be the end of the marriage.
It's a convenience factor having it show up at your door, I will say.
Well, the reason I want to go back to it is, yeah, I subscribe to Loot Crate, and you get the box of nerd stuff, and it's, you know, anything from, you know, stuff like this. Captain America's shield. It's metal too. Feel that thing. Yeah, how about that? But the reason I want to redo it is because the T-shirt stuff. They'll send you the email and they'll have like a special weekend thing where it's like, hey, we've got these T-shirts for $4. And that's where the Tony Stark Industries racing shirt came from. And there's a couple other ones that have came through, and it's like, wow, these are really awesome shirts. And the shipping and handling literally costs more than the shirt itself.
Yep. And now we'll have to find some time to wear our matching shirts, because I got that in the crate when it arrived at my doorstep originally.
Oh, really?
Yep.
That's awesome. But yeah, I was thinking about that the other day, and it's like Loot Crate with all the other, you know, trinkety stuff. The T-shirts make it worth it.
Yep. And they have their specialty boxes as well, because I don't subscribe to the standard Loot Crate anymore, but I still get the Firefly box every 2 months.
Yeah.
So
Firefly box, huh? Nice.
You're such a child.
Yeah, I am. I'm in a basement talking about comic books.
Stones.
So, if you want to get involved in Loot Crate, go to their website, lootcrate.com, and take a look at it. I mean, the specials they send are just awesome. Like, I did the mystery shirt, was the last one, and I got this awesome Fallout shirt.
Nice.
Yeah, so it might be on an upcoming episode. I'm not sure.
Only you can decide that.
Yes, only I can decide, and the pile of T-shirts that I brought downstairs.
Exactly.
All right, we're 151. Please like, follow, subscribe, and rate us. We'd appreciate it. That's going to do it for us. Thank you again to Ryan Patrick, who was nice enough to stop out.
Yay.
Thank you.
And be a guest on the show. He's going to be back next time as we do Bag O' Questions, Volume 3.
Is that the Irish version?
Yes.
Yes.